Welcome to this presentation on Oracle Enterprise Data Quality Essentials. This is part of Database World 2021. This is a safe harbor statement because towards the end of this presentation, I will talk to you a little bit about the future and the roadmap for Oracle Enterprise Data Quality and the data quality strategy within Oracle. So first of all, why is data quality important? Well, there are a number of aspects in which organizations are changing to capitalize in a bigger way on their data. The data is normally one of the biggest assets a company has in this day and age. And it's very important to be able to optimize the value of that data. And some of the ways you can do that are to use data quality software to automate data preparation. And data preparation is increasingly something that takes a lot of time within an organization, whether it's done by data scientists or ETL developers or other personnel. And a lot of the time, the types of techniques that you need to use in data preparation involve things that really only specialist data quality software can do. Things like advanced data deduplication, advanced parsing and semantic analysis of data. Secondly, as you use data in an organization to make strategic decisions, business decisions, it's very important that you're doing so based on a foundation of trusted, high quality data. And often the only way to ensure that is to measure the quality of your data according to sets of business rules that you can define based on your own analysis of how good your data is. So to help you do that, we have Oracle Enterprise Data Quality, which has a fairly established foundation now as a very flexible toolkit for understanding your data, measuring its quality, improving and standardizing it, performing advanced capabilities like matching and merging. And it provides a framework with which you can govern your data on an ongoing basis. And in doing that, it has a long track record of being really the most usable type of software on the data quality market. It promotes a collaborative learning environment where users can very quickly get up to speed with using the product without any knowledge of code or scripts or SQL or anything like this, to understand the data, measure its quality, and start improving on it very, very quickly. Here are some of the things that you can do with Oracle Enterprise Data Quality. So in the top left-hand corner, and this is really important because good data quality processes always require profiling and analysis of the data that goes into them. And to do this, you have to grab as much data as you can, profile it, understand it, see what's there, and you use that knowledge to drive the definition of good business rules that measure how good your data is. And also, as you're finding those problems, you can work out how to fix them, how to come up with good data quality processes which will standardize and enhance your data. Similarly, that understanding drives how you will match and merge your data if you need to. And then once you've got those rules established, you can reliably track data quality over time. And you can also reuse those processes in real time. So for example, you can check that data is going to be of good quality in a source system by calling a web service. So the first step in this journey is normally to plug your data into EDQ. We make it very easy to do that. EDQ has a very wide range of connectivity. It can also be integrated with Oracle Data Integrator or other tools, which, if required, can extend that connectivity. But you can normally bring in your data very easily from databases, from files, from big data systems, real-time messages. We've recently added Kafka integration. All sorts of different types of source can be plugged in. You pull the data into EDQ and you start analyzing it using the profiling family of processes in EDQ and also the audit family. And by applying your expertise to what you consider to be good data, something that needs to work for you, you can start working out what issues you have, where you stand from the current day, and how far away you are from where you really need to be. And that can help you identify quick wins for the business, things that you can do very quickly using, for example, a standardization process, a cleansing process, or something like that, which can improve the quality of data perhaps straight away, potentially going into a data warehouse, or perhaps even just feeding back to a source system. So once you have that understanding, you use additional tools also available in the enterprise data quality tool palette. You'll use transformation processes, check processes, parse processes, and match processes to start constructing reusable processes that can be called in batch or real time to push data through and improve its quality. And the good thing about this is that once you've started tracking data quality back on those rules that you've defined, you can improve the value, the quality of the data using this type of process, and measure how much you have improved it according to the same rules. So you can very, very easily see the value of a good data quality process, and you can promote that visibility of how well you've done through the use of the EDQ dashboard. The next stage is really another step along in maturity, and this is where you can use those data quality web services, which you can define in EDQ, and you can potentially call them from source systems. So, for example, it might be that you're capturing addresses in an operational system and you need to clean those addresses up, perhaps apply some other standardizations, and you can construct a web service in EDQ that does that, feeds the response directly and immediately back to that source system before the data even gets added. Similarly, you can use EDQ for duplicate prevention on the same basis. And actually, we do that within our own cloud applications at Oracle. So EDQ powers duplicate prevention in products like Commerce Cloud and Sales Cloud. The great advantage of that is obviously the costs of bad data get dramatically reduced if you can stop that data kind of coming into operational systems at source. At every stage along where that data gets used, which is normally quite a long chain, if you can improve the quality of data at all steps along that chain, it is better than improving it just later on. There are times when it's not necessarily so easy to do that. There are some operational systems where it's not so easy to plug in a real-time service, but in some cases you can, and in others you try and put that data quality processing as far up the chain as possible so that all of your consumers of data are consuming better quality data. The idea is that you don't have to keep having projects on data quality. You don't have to keep taking a couple of months to go and assess and improve your data again. You can continuously keep on top of it by protecting data quality as far close to the source as possible. Now, enterprise data quality also features built-in case management application, which is designed for data stewards and other data reviewers, anyone who is an expert potentially on how to resolve a data quality issue. You can use that product application rather within your business wherever you need to make a manual decision about some data. So data will normally flow through a data quality process in as fully an automated fashion as possible. But there are times when users just need to take a look at records and make decisions. It could be because they are a possible match and it's not necessarily easy to determine whether they should be a match or not. Or it could be that there's a data error, but it's not necessarily, there could be 3 or 4 choices for how to resolve that error. It could be that it's okay to completely reject the record. It's okay to, perhaps that record can be fixed in some simple way. Perhaps it can be manually modified in order to pass the checks that it's failed. But sometimes the user needs to make that decision, and you can use case management along with the very flexible workflow capability that powers it in order to resolve data quality issues very quickly. And case management has good features around assignment, prioritization, reporting, bulk changes where necessary, and things like that. So it's an application designed for the efficiency of your organization. Now, moving on, it's important to recognize that while EDQ can deal with really any type of data in virtually any structure and any language, there are certain data domains which we see much more often. And for those data domains like customer data and product data, we provide additional pre-integrated services and tools that allow you to get started much quicker. So for example, there are built-in services that will do name validation, standardization, transliteration for individuals, for entities. There are matching processes and services for individuals, entities, and addresses. You can validate and standardize email addresses. And similarly for product data, although product data is much more variable, we provide useful toolkits for working with product data, for profiling it, for extracting out common dimensions like colors, units of measure, and so on, for abbreviating product descriptions, and for matching product descriptions. And those services can be plugged in and used directly by your applications, but they can also be tailored using EDQ. All they are really is constructed configuration of underlying processes in EDQ. Some of the key advanced capabilities of EDQ now are things that are a little bit different to some of the other software that's available in this kind of market and area. One of the things that's really developed very strongly in EDQ, because we have a long track record really of doing this, is very effective matching and name variant recognition for individuals and entities. Because EDQ powers, as I mentioned, duplicate prevention in many of our cloud applications and has been doing so for many years with our master data management applications like Siebel and things like this. We have very well established processes that can match data in lots of different languages and do that in a way that's quite nicely tailored towards those languages. So for example, we ship dictionaries of name variants, Mike, Michael, and so on, but in lots and lots of different languages, so that knowledge is kind of built into the matching and that those equivalences won't be missed. The match engine itself is, I think, the most powerful one on the market. It's extremely flexible. It can adopt different approaches. So you can have a fully deterministic match process, which uses rules which combine many different types of comparison algorithm. EDQ ships with around 30 to 40 different ways of comparing records. And you can construct a match process which is fully deterministic, which decides this is definitely a match, this is something that users need to look at, and this is definitely not a match. And you can combine those rules to come up with an extremely good match process for a specific type of data. And the deterministic approach is really very good if you can analyze the data that you're working with thoroughly. If you can't, and you're trying to come up with a match process that's good for lots and lots of different types of data with lots of different variant characteristics, a probabilistic approach is often better because it allows you to combine a greater number of different possibilities which may or may not exist in the data using probabilistic rules. It's much more abbreviated way of constructing a match process, and you can do that with EDQ as well. But because you can combine EDQ's match engine with all of its other capabilities, including its parsing capabilities, its ability to classify item data, for example, standardize and so on, you can plug in and make a match process largely based on the semantics of data. So for example, that's the approach we take when we're matching product data. And the match engine can also learn. So importantly, if a user makes a decision on a given pair of records, and that's something that the match engine will automatically remember. But you can also use those decisions and combine them with machine learning type approaches to work out whether you might want to apply that decision on some similar records. And that's something that is being done more and more in recent years. Another key benefit is that we have very rich unstructured text parsing capability using the underlying parser, but also additional simpler processes like extract attributes. You can support things like semantic item classification, name and address parsing, context-specific standardization. So where you want to change data, but only based on its position in a longer text field and things like that. You can do all of those things in EDQ, things that are actually quite difficult to do in most programming languages in any sort of succinct way. Another important capability is that you can, once you define process configuration in EDQ, you can almost always create something as a unit and reuse it. So if you define a fairly complex string of processes to do a certain job, but you know you want to do that job again, you can wrap that up as a single processor, add it to the tool palette, give it to other users, and make it something that's much easier for them to do in future. It's a really nice capability. It's a little bit like a macro, if you like. And one of the design tenets we have in EDQ is that you can make any manual decisions either in the software itself, or you can make them externally. So for example, if you want to run all your matching in EDQ, but make your decisions somewhere else in a master data management application or a source application or something like that, you can feed those decisions back into EDQ and, for example, use it to drive how you might merge records. Or you could, just instantiate those decisions somewhere else if they don't have any impact on EDQ processing itself. Now, from a deployment perspective, the key thing here is that you can really take EDQ and deploy it wherever you like. So it's often deployed on premise. It can be deployed on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. And for that, we have images available, which make that process really simple and quick. Or you can deploy the software on other cloud platforms. And we support that as long as the certification matrix of EDQ is met. So as long as it's the right sort of Java version and operating system version, then it's absolutely fine to run the software on Azure or Amazon. And we have many customers who do that. Now, just to put some of that into context, EDQ is very flexible and it can be deployed in lots of different ways and for many different use cases, ranging from fraud compliance, master data management, watchlist screening, data governance, attached data quality for a given application or for many applications. But one of the areas that we're seeing more and more these days is that EDQ is used to improve the quality of data for a data warehouse, and that data warehouse then powering business intelligence. And to make that an improved experience, we've recently added more connectivity for cloud and big data systems so that EDQ can pull that type of data in, work its magic, and then provide trusted data, which can then go perhaps back to your data lake, but certainly it can go onto your data warehouse, and then all your data scientists, all your data consumers will then be working on a higher quality level of data. And it just saves them an enormous amount of time when they're wrangling the data if they don't have to solve those problems that you've already solved in your data quality management infrastructure using EDQ. And if you do this, you can potentially do this, of course, all on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So you can run your EDQ system on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. It could perhaps use an autonomous database as its repository, and it could also feed on to one or more Oracle autonomous databases also running on OCI. And that's just one example of how it might work. Now, in this demonstration, I'm just going to show some of the latest features of EDQ and just to highlight one of those examples. So here on OCI, I have my Oracle Cloud Infrastructure object storage, and I have some files in a bucket on this storage system. And you can see there's a few types of files here. I've got some CSV files, I've got some DAP files, I've got some JSON files. Now, EDQ can connect up directly to that source of data. So here in this project, we have a number of bits of configuration. The first one is actually just going to go and download a file from that bucket I just showed you. So here, all I need to do is specify the URL, which I could get from my OCI console, of a file that I want to go and process in EDQ. And now I've set up some stored credentials on the EDQ server that allow me to go and get that file, and that's an administration UI that we've added. And that allows you to set up stored credentials, not just for Oracle Cloud infrastructure, but also for Amazon S3, for Azure Blob Storage, or Google Cloud Platform, or really any other external store that uses an OAuth 2 authorization mechanism. Of course, if your files are on a system which don't even require stored credentials, like they're just downloadable from the EDQ server, then you can just use a file download in the normal way, and you don't need a credential in this case. But in this case, this task needs those credentials, so I've set that up. And when I run that, what that will do is it will go and grab that data from Object Store and bring it into the EDQ landing area. Now, the task ran very, very quickly there because it's a very small file, but it brought that file into the landing area. And once it's in the landing area, I just define my data store to point to it in the normal way. Now, we recently added support for JSON files, so you can see this is a JSON data store. And if I test that quickly, it will confirm that I've got the file in my local landing area. And then I can just process it as normal. So I can snapshot the data, and you can see that I've done that here. There's only 2,000 records in this file, so it'll process very quickly. And of course, I can use EDQ processing on it. So in this case, I've added a profiling processor, and I've understood some things about the data. I've realized I need to deduplicate it, for example, if I just quickly explore the data to show that. There are some duplicates in here, just exploring by name. I have a look, I've got some duplicate records. I can drill down to those to see Roland Brown, similar sort of address. That's a duplicate. We've also got some test records. I might want to filter those out. And perhaps we've got some name duplicates that are not, of course, actual duplicates of the same person. So if we look at Margaret Hall, for example, different addresses and so forth. So we want to differentiate those. We want a match process that will be able to match on name and address or name and email. We've also got some patterns in the data that need to be resolved. So I've had a look at some patterns on, for example, my address attributes, and you can see I've got leading spaces and trailing commas in some of my address fields. So this is just something I might want to clean up on the way through. So I've designed a process that will do that. It will parse names. So in this case, we're going to take in an unstructured name in a single field, and we're going to parse out the names into a structured name field. And anything that fails our rules, perhaps we'll isolate. So those test records, things with test in the name, things like this, or something, a record with no name at all, we're just going to quarantine. Then we're going to clean some of those other issues. So we can work with our telephone numbers and address ones, change the case. And then we're going to match and deduplicate, which is going to identify some duplicate records using name and address, name and email rules. And then we come up with deduplicated data. And this is a smaller set of records. You can see here 1983 down from just over 2000. We've isolated some records and we've deduplicated some others. And now when we set that up, we can run that as a job. And of course, a job can be initiated using the REST APIs in EDQ or the command line interface, or it can be called from Oracle Data Integrator, or all these other things. A job is an automatic thing. And the job will download the data from OCI in this case. It's going to process the data through that process we just ran, export the clean data to my ADW instance, which has been set up as a data store here, and also upload the improved data back up to Object Store in case someone else wants to use it there. So we write out the file, and then we do a file upload, another new feature, back up to Object Store. So that's a quick demo of some of the new features. Now, I just switch back to give a little bit of information about the roadmap. So our latest release, we've just looked at it there, is 12.2.141. We've added connectivity to cloud data lakes, OCI object storage, S3, Azure, and so forth. We've added a whole host of new data stores. So support for Oracle Autonomous Databases, or better support for them. Kafka, JSON and JSON lines, Avro files, AWS Redshift, Cassandra, Oracle Service Cloud. And then importantly, we've expanded the support for long text columns. So where now the repository database now supports long text columns, so does EDQ. And then coming in the next few years, we have a plan for some more additional features. So we're adding REST APIs onto case management to allow automation and external interaction with case management, for example, to update cases, change their states, add comments, and things like that. We're integrating EDQ with Azure for single sign-on, so that you can sign on with Azure credentials and get redirected straight into EDQ without the need to sign on into EDQ at all. We're adding Git integration for configuration management to add on to the Subversion integration option. We're adding support for Java 11 and 17, and that will remove the need to have Java installed on clients because Java Web Start's being removed. There will be a launcher application instead for EDQ, which you can get either from Oracle eDelivery, or you can download it from the EDQ server. And that's a little simple launcher application which will launch EDQ and will not require Java to be embedded on the installed on any clients. We're going to add data store connectors, certainly for Snowflake, probably for Salesforce and SaaS applications in the next year or two as well. And we're looking to support formally a Docker and Kubernetes deployments, which is something that some of our customers, both internally and externally, have done, but we're looking to make that a more formal thing. And now quickly onto our data quality strategy. So really importantly, the first point is that enterprise data quality remains the strategic data quality management platform. So where someone needs a full environment with all of that capability, the ability to manage data quality in a mature way under a governance umbrella, and for all of the variform use cases and with lots of different connectivity, EDQ is still the right choice, and we'll continue to enhance it for new use cases, new technology, new connectivity requirements, and so forth. It's embedded, as I mentioned, in many of our cloud services, so we'll continue to improve that capability. And it's also in many of our Oracle Financial Services solutions, so we are improving the product in order to fulfill those use cases extremely well. But importantly, we're also adding data quality capabilities in a number of our other offerings on the cloud. So there will be some data quality operators added to the Autonomous Databases data transforms feature, which is coming out soon. There will be some level of profiling capability in both in the Autonomous Database and in the OCI data catalog. And there will also be some data cleansing options in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure's data integration service. So some of those kind of capabilities, which at the moment only really live in EDQ, will start living in some of these other products as well. But they don't replace EDQ. EDQ has a much greater realm of functionality. All the things that it does, like case management and so on, will continue. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of Oracle Database World. Thank you very much.